Here we're going to have a conversation here about food. Welcome Jock, who's one of the founders of the Dandelion project, and Rupy back onto the stage. I just want to say, you know, one of the things, we've got 450 meetup groups of doctors around the world that get together to watch the functional forum. And what we've encouraged people to do is to take small clips out of the shows that we've made and discuss them. I cannot wait, and I'm so proud and thankful that that talk will be discussed in groups all around the world right now, because the biggest thing that I take away from that, and the biggest thing that hit me, and what we've been saying, you know, the journey from regular medicine to functional medicine, at some point, a doctor has to do it without asking for permission. They just have to go and do it, and it's the same energy there. And so I really look forward to other groups all around the world, because the kind of stuff that she's talking about doing it's not difficult. It can be done by a group of people coming together. So that was, truly fabulous. So I'm glad to have these two on the stage. Now, Jock, you've been referred to by almost no one as the Pam Worst of Guernsey, trying to get people interested in growing stuff. How's it going?
Following Pam, that's tough. It's been a bit of a personal journey in trying to rethink what food looks like. And me as a project manager immediately wanted to scale that and see what food looks like for a community. We learned from Pam. We've been trying a few different models, and actually so many of the threads that we've experienced have come back full circle today on the stage. People have touched upon the idea of it needs to be local, it needs to be clean, it needs to be simple, you need to be asking for clean food. So we've tried a few different models. We've come back at this point to understand it's the soil. That's probably the most important thing where we need to start, because if we're growing in soils that aren't optimal, the food that's coming out isn't optimal. So that's currently where we're doing a lot of work.
One of the things about Mike Ash's talk earlier, I was just saying, like, normally that topic is seriously depressing, right? Because everything's wrong and there's no answer. So to have that talk earlier leave on like, hey, look, there is something en route was pretty transformational for me to see that, because soil depletion is something that I've never thought of as an actionable solution.
It's really good timing for us as well. We're working on a project that we've been working on for a couple of years in the background, but we're in the throes of pulling it together physically on the ground now with a soil regeneration project on Ireland. So Michael being in Ireland is really interesting to me, because that's a conversation we'll take further.
That's great. So like you got these two parts, Rupy. I know you've been really involved more on sort of the cooking end of once you actually have the food. What kind of, you've basically shot to fame on the basis of an Instagram account. What is the potential for transformation in a world where literally everyone, a billion people or 2 billion people could follow you on Facebook or otherwise? How do you see the potential for wide-scale transformation in the internet era with food?
Yeah, I'm not really at that level yet, I just want to say. But I think it's just a nice platform where you can actually have honest, open discussions about what you believe in and actually connect with other people. I mean, that's how I connect with Rangan. That's how I know about the Dandelion project. That's how I know about Pam now. And creating little movements in that sort of virtual space is brilliant, and that's essentially why it's kind of reinvigorated me to just carry on and not ask for permission. I think that's probably the best thing that you can draw from this event, like not asking for permission, just doing it and just seeing who joins you. And there are a lot of people out there that are just as like-minded, and when you collaborate and you actually create a little community, you can do some fantastic things.
One of the things that Maskell was saying at dinner the other night about the blue zones is that everyone, even 90 plus, has a reason, a purpose for getting out of bed, and they're working every day. And he actually specifically mentioned gardening. It seems to me that the gardening of food, or the creation of food from the soil, and the cooking of food are two areas where the barriers to entry for groups of people to do anything together is almost zero.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's I didn't touch on it on my talk in Made in Hackney, but the two very much go hand in hand. So I came at it from a cooking point of view. I just wanted to volunteer somewhere where I could practice my chopping skills and actually do some good. And then I found out about this incredible organization, the other things that they were doing, the growing communities, the urban environments. I mean, they're based in Hackney. When you go to East London, there are no gardens that you can think of, and they've just propped them up everywhere. And actually, if you just go out a little bit outside London and encourage more people to go there, you can actually grow your own food. You can get access to them, and it is cheap and available, organic. It's fantastic.
John, one of the reasons why we've sort of said, maybe a fourth reason why Guernsey's in a great position, you can grow a lot of stuff on this island, can't you?
You can, yeah. I mean, we have a heritage that's left us with a lot of empty greenhouses. You've got longer growing seasons in greenhouses. One of the problems is the topsoil was all stripped out because they weren't using it as a growing substrate. So soil fixing is one of the challenges that we face. We now think we've got solutions for that. But I think it's really important to touch on the diversity. For me, farming in its guise previously hasn't been optimal. It's been depleting soils. There's been questions around it. And it's become more and more centralized too. So it's taken food away from communities, and this is where some of the abstraction of what food is has happened, I think. So me growing up, engaging with food has been a packet process rather than a local market process. So one of the things we're doing with the greenhouse we've got locally is bolstering communities to coexist, where we're looking at a community kitchen project. We're looking at a growing project, we're looking at a soil project, we're looking at a men's sheds project that came out of another event we run, where all these different communities collaborate together around the subject of food. Because as Pam says, you put food on the table and you bring people together. So it's kind of trying to bring all those different communities together for us. And that's been something we've learnt the slow way by trying things and failing and trying things and failing. So currently that edible is very much about bringing different groups to the table, and the invite's open to anyone listening. If you've got ways of thinking, ideas around food, they don't necessarily need to be planting. They can be building maps, building websites, other things. But if you've got ideas, I mean, one of the web developers at Specsavers keeps talking to me about wanting to help build a hedge veg map. We've got the heritage on Ireland of all the little hedge veg locations. It's literally been time that's stopped us getting that finished. We're working on it, but joining all the dots of where all the local growers have their surplus food. This would be a wonderful application to enable you to access local food.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, it's June 30th today, right? There's a bunch of people in the room. There's people watching next door who are having lunch or snacks. I mean, it seems, what do you think is reasonable for this for this group of people here and, their friends and their community on the island to achieve by the end of summer?
I would definitely get the doctors involved. There are a couple of doctors around here, and I think getting them involved in those communities as well, and making sure that they have a presence where they can actually see firsthand the effect of growing, of having your own food, of teaching them how to cook, is something that I personally, because that's what I'm passionate about doing back in England. So yeah, that's something I would suggest that you carry on doing.
Can we talk about one of the things that Dr. Sachin Patel has been doing, this idea of the community batch cooking?
Yeah.
It really seems to me that one of the biggest things that people say why they can't eat healthy is they don't have time to cook.
Yeah.
And then also, I just wanted to throw that out there because it seems to me like you're just an unused commercial kitchen away from getting a group of people together to cook for each other.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Sachin said is you're not only teaching skills, but then typically after one or two times with that, they go and replicate this now in their houses or otherwise, and it becomes a weekly community event. It seems like that's, to me, is super low barrier to entry for people.
Totally. And throughout this whole process, I've been chatting to a whole bunch of chefs around in London, and there are so many commercial kitchens that are not utilized. There's so much downtime, and all it takes is just a few emails. Just, can we use this kitchen for maybe a group of diabetic patients that can all cook together and actually be taught how to cook, the reasons why you should be using these particular ingredients more often than others, and then have a batch cooking class like that, and then just let it progress. I reckon that's certainly achievable.
If we're looking to get action from the crowd, maybe this is a good time to actually come into the crowd and run in and see if you have anything, because we want action here. So can I turn this on? Is this going to work?
James?
We'll just come really close and you can talk into my mic here.
Yeah, it's on.
Okay.
Private College of FE is closed all summer. That's a big kitchen. You could do, all sorts of things there. You've got this sunken garden. That could be a great place to grow veg and stuff, couldn't it, for the community?
I was having that conversation not more than 2 weeks ago, and the College of FE kitchen, they're actually really quite progressive there with some of the cookery courses they're doing. We're working with the College of FE to create a learning difficulty and disabled polytunnel farm up at the edible site. We're raising the money for that now with the hope that 2018 is the launch of that. But again, working in collaboration with the kitchen projects at the College of FE. So some of this is a slower burn than you'd like it to be. You want it to happen tomorrow all the time. Absolutely. I was actually going to open this back to the floor before James asked the question and say there are bound to be people in this room that have got the connections to those commercial kitchens that can ask the question for us rather than keep pushing it back. It'd be amazing if people were coming back with space.
Can we use the mic? Sorry, otherwise no one can hear at home. I'll try and make it as easy as possible. Sorry. Stretch across.
I think it's Peter, what's his surname? Wilson. He runs a kitchen, doesn't he? He used to be at Suco. Who owns Suco? He runs
Peter Yates.
Peter Yates. No, not Yates. The second one. Paul Wilson, isn't it? Yeah, he does.
Okay.
He runs a kitchen.
If you can connect this up, that'd be great.
Yeah, no, well, they have a club there, don't they, where you can join the club, and you can go there and have meals about 4 times a year, where the kids have cooked them, and they serve you and everything. It's a really, really nice evening. It's lovely for the kids to do, or the students to do.
Amazing.
So I'm sure. I mean, I just knock on my door to him, to be honest.
That's what I love about Guernsey. You just knock on the door.
Yeah.
Everyone knows everyone. All right, Glenn, you want to share here?
Yeah, front gardens and things like that. You know, a lot of them are grass. Obviously, there's an opportunity there as well. You know, growing in front gardens is huge across in the States now. I've seen that taking off.
There's a great TED talk from Ron Finley on that in the
Yeah.
US, where he takes over curbsides
That's the one.
and starts
curbside
planting
garden.
veg in curbsides. There's other questions around the fumes on that, but
Anyone else want to share something? Yeah, right here in the back. Here we go.
Hi, Jock. So
Hi, Bella.
I'm Bella Farrell, and I'm the systemic team coach who is pulling together the Men's Shed project in St. Peter's. But thankfully, thanks to Mark, and we've got 5 acres up there now. And we're having a men's shed, which we're restoring the shed, and we've registered as a charity. So we have shedders now, and we have MUG, Male Uprising Guernsey, funding the renovation of the sheds. And it's a phenomenal project. I encourage anyone to have a look at what we're doing on Facebook, so Men's Shed Guernsey Facebook. But we're not just targeting older men, but we are targeting men in general. We're working very closely with Makers Space, the directors there, who are, so it's makers and shedders. So we're co-creating a community. We're on site with you. Edible is on the same site. So we're looking forward to hosting a sharing evening of our project on the 19th of July, up at the site in St. Peter's. It's all happening in St. Peter's, thanks to Melissa, who's put her herbal garden outside her husband's GP practice. So on the 19th of July at 6 o'clock, you're all welcome to come up to the site and have a look and see what the makers and the shedders are doing. And I'm noticing, you know, Stuart, I'm noticing some people from St. Peter's here who perhaps aren't on our invitation list, but please come, and more people come. But excitedly enough, we've also got another building on that site, which Mark has pinpointed as the community kitchen. So you can see what I've been trying to do in the last few weeks is see whether we got traction for that community kitchen idea from the TED Talk that we had two weeks ago or so. And so we've put together about 4 names of people who are interested in starting that community kitchen there. Again, it's just I'm standing up today because it's just my ask is, if you are wanting to be involved in Edible Guernsey, Men's Shed, Maker Space, Community Kitchen, Community Cafe, or whatever, we've got 5 acres. And we're really good at asking people for money to help us. And I think it's going to be a really exciting base for the community that we're all talking about today. And it's my pleasure to be involved with the lads up there. So I hope you can join us.
Thank you very much. Mark, you want to add something to that one? Jock, what does it take to retrofit one of those, one of the greenhouses for actual use?
well, it depends on the greenhouse, but some of them are falling down and need a bit of repair, the land might be more useful than the greenhouse in some instances. Some of them are in better condition. What's interesting to me is some of the better condition ones, we've identified a farmer in the US called Will Allen, who is growing 10 times the normal organic farm production from the same footprint, and he's using polytunnels and greenhouses in Milwaukee, where the climate's broadly similar. There's no advantageous climate there. And the numbers stack up that we only need 10 functional greenhouses like the one we've got to feed 60,000 people with fresh food and greens and that kind of thing. So we don't need the 250 derelict that we've got. It's getting 10 good ones.
What would it take for Guernsey to become a net exporter of food and, you know, crush Jersey?
I think the answer is to focus on local first, right?
Yeah, there was a little bit of a hum in the room earlier where Michelle mentioned that. I could see that there's a little bit of a rivalry there. So, you know, it's really exciting to see. Do we got time for just one more thought process over here? I'm going to bring the mic over.
It's more of a moan, really. It's just that, you know, we've lost our market. In comes HMV, in comes all these high street stores. I know there's a farmer's market in St Martin's, but you can't always get there. It's not all year round. You know, all these polytunnel ideas, all brilliant, but how do you constantly stop your car in the middle of a, you know, small lane to get that bag of potatoes from the hedge and the bag of carrots from the other side of the island? Do you know what I mean? It's how do we centralise it, and why can't we have a market back?
That's a very good point.
I've got some thoughts on it if you'd like me
Yeah,
to.
that's why you're
Sure.
on the stage, Jock.
Fully centralising isn't the answer for me. Drivethru hedge veg was one of the ideas we've been playing with, centralising some of the hedge veg a little more, working with some of the distributors like Milton and Phoenix to look at using the vehicle structures they have to bring together local food into local scenarios. So perhaps in each parish we would have a centralised place for local veg. That would make it easier. Talked to the co-op, and they got 90 growers knocking on the back door. We're looking to try and build systems that make it so that the co-op have one person to deal with. And again, centralising those systems and building the relationships between the two. I think these kind of ideas, because I agree with you, it's in order to eat local in the current environment, not only with the growing choices, but with the buying choices, it's swimming upstream. It's really hard work. Exactly. So an element of making that easier.
One thing I saw in California that it's always stuck with me. This is less than an hour outside of San Francisco in Marin County. I came across what could only be described as a farm stall with an honesty box. And the food was there. People put the food in. The farmers came in, put all the different food in. There was a list of how much stuff cost, and there was a little thing to put money in. And I was like, look, there's zero overhead for someone to be there the whole time. It's at a place that's like easy for everyone to get to, and it's been there for 20 years and works, and no one seems to be, you know, stealing from it or otherwise. What do you think of something like that?
This is called hedge veg. Welcome to Guernsey.
All right, on that bombshell, we're going to get on with the next section. So thank you so much for your participation.